pretty sure it's time to eat. I'm just saying, okay? It is all about making the best, most consistent racks of ribs ever. That is some barbecue sexiness happening right there. Okay. Hey, this is Danielle Bennett, also known as Diva Q, and today I'm so excited to bring you this recipe. It is a revision of our 3-2-1 recipe, and it is all about making the best, most consistent racks of ribs ever. So let's get to it. We've got a couple of racks of ribs right in front of me, and these are commonly referred to as a St. Louis cut of ribs. One of the things about a St. Louis cut of ribs, it's a little different than a baby back rib or a full slab, and that it is a very consistent shape of ribs from one side to the other. Now, a lot of times you can find these in the grocery stores now, but you know, sometimes they just need a little bit of trim work. So we're gonna start there today. So I've got a pair of gloves, I've got a super couple of sharp knives, and a couple of beautiful, big, thick racks of ribs. Now look at this. Once you get to the grocery store, one of the key things for me is selecting your ribs. So look at how nice and thick these ribs are to start. Another thing, you want to take a look at the meat surface. Look at how pretty this is. It's got beautiful striations of fat all over it. It's luxurious, it's awesome looking. And one of the key things is, I don't see any bone pops. Yeah, that's right. You want to run your hand over this meat in the package, and you just want to make sure you don't feel any bones popping through. Now, on the opposite side, this is where the membrane is. And one of the things about the membrane is that this will actually still allow, smoke to go through it, but it doesn't allow a lot of our delicious rubs to go through it. So you want to look for a membrane that we can remove, but if it's nice and solid and white, it makes the job so much easier to remove. So that rack looks good to me. Here's our second rack. Same thing. Look, nice consistent thickness all the way through. This is key for me when it comes to doing really consistent, repeatable results on the grill. Beautiful, thick rack of ribs. It's a heavy rack of ribs. Also, once again, nice, beautiful membrane, solid white, and once again, no bone pops. All right, so we've got our 2 racks of ribs, and now we're gonna do a little bit of pre-trim work. This comes back to like my competition days because I like things really exact. And one of the key things for me is to clean the edges up. So right now we have a lot of the cartilage on this rack of ribs. So we're gonna take the rack of ribs and we're gonna lay it down, meat side down, bone side up. We're gonna grab a heavy duty chef's knife. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna feel with our fingertips just where that cartilage ends. That's about 1/2 inch in. And what we're trying to do is we're going to try to expose just the bone ends so that it cooks more consistently and so you're not biting into cartilage. As you can see, we just took off that hard part of cartilage, a little bit of bone pops right there, and look how nice and consistent that is now. Nice and clean all over the end. Now, 2 other things we're going to do. Right now, this rack of ribs is ending on bone here and really floppy meat at this end. One of the key things I'll tell you is that we're going to be wrapping these ribs at some point. So because we're going to be wrapping these ribs, we actually want to make sure that each of these ends in soft meat. So we're going to grab our knife, once again, nice sharp knife. We're going to come right to the very edge of that bone, and we're going to trim that bone out. We're going to trim that bone out because that bone, as it cooks, it's actually going to pull back. It's going to pierce through that foil package that we're going to make at a later date. Put that to the side. At the end here, we've got some really loose, floppy bits, as you can see. Now, in order for us to have really consistent moisture from one end to the other, this stuff is actually going to turn into like pork jerky and not the good kind. So what you want to do is you want to come up a little bit, just feel with your fingers where those bones go, and you want to trim that excess out. Now, once again, all these little bits, don't throw them out. Season them up, throw them on the grill. These are cook's treats. Stack on them after a couple of hours. Once they reach 145 to 155 degrees, you can eat them. It's nice and safe, and they're delicious snackies. Put them to the side. Now, almost there, almost there. We're gonna do the same thing on this rack of ribs. We've got, once again, a lot of cartilage going on right here, all connected up. We wanna clean that cartilage up. Once again, taking our fingers to feel the ends of the bones, and about 1/2 inch in, all the way down. Give that a nice slice. And we're trimming these up to make them a really pretty St. Louis cut rib. Okay. And then once again, we're coming down here. I've got a bone shard. We're going to get rid of that bone shard again, just by taking the tip of that out, just like that. So that bone shard would have popped through and it actually would have pierced through the package. So we're going to get rid of all of that. And then at this end, again, we've got a floppy end. We're going to come through, cut that out. So we've got our discard pile over there. We've got our 2 racks of ribs here. Cut off anything that's flopping around. They look great. Now, when you flip over to the meat side, you're going to notice you've got some floppy bits on the top. This is where you want to swap out a chef knife for like a boning knife. So right now, if we put the rub on there, there's a membrane right there and some silver skin. The rub isn't going to go underneath that. So I would rather just take a sharp knife and trim some of it back to expose the protein. When you expose the protein, you can get the rub into the protein and make it more tasty. So I'd rather take a little moment, trim that back, make it a little more tasty in the future. It's all about building that bark on ribs. You know, bark is where that delicious flavor from the smoke, the rub, you know, any liquid you add, that's actually what gives barbecue its great flavor. It's all the bark buildup. And bark is beautiful barbecue. We've got a little bit of that silver skin there. Take a super sharp boning knife, and I'm going to get rid of all the sloppy bits. Just like that. And once again, everything that goes in this pile, you don't have to throw it out. Also, if you by any chance have a meat grinder at home, you can actually just take the meat off that, the fats, you can grind that up for ground pork. So now we have 2 really pretty racks of ribs. They've all been nicely squared up. Next step. It's all about taking that membrane off. Now, I know there is 50 million opinions out there. Take the membrane off, leave the membrane on. I will always tell you, if you have a moment, take the membrane off. Smoke will absolutely get through that membrane, but rub doesn't go through it. And you know what? I really love the rub we're using today, and I want it to be a full flavored rack of ribs. So, grab your paper towel. And this is my fail-proof Diva Q method on getting this membrane off every single time. Take your ribs, hold them up in your hand. When they're down here on the rack's on the cutting board, it's a little harder to grab the membrane. So I'm gonna actually go through and I'm gonna grab the membrane between 2 bones. Paper towel. We're gonna actually act like a pincher on the paper towel, and we're gonna go in between 2 bones and we're gonna pinch. We're gonna pinch. We're gonna pinch. We're gonna pinch, we're gonna pinch, and we just keep pinching and we keep pinching. And now once you get it started, one of the great things is turn your paper towel, because you got a slimy bit on there. And if you've got a slimy bit on there, you can't grasp that membrane. Then all you have to do, take that, and you see how easy that was? You pinch and you pull, people. You pinch and you pull, and your membrane magically just came off, okay? Let's do it again, because that wasn't a fluke, okay? I've done it about, I don't know, 15, 20,000 times. Once again, rack of ribs in your hand, good quality paper towel, holding it up, pinch in between 2 bones, take your paper towel, pop your paper towel underneath. I'm not even looking, I've done this so many times, okay? Lay your rack down, pull your membrane, turn your paper towel, and once again, this is what you want to get off, okay? And I want this stuff to come off my ribs, okay? See? Ooh, magical. 1 piece of paper towel. Put your tools away, everybody. Get some paper towels. Now, on the bottom of this rack of ribs, I will tell you, I will take a moment on this rack specifically. There is a very big chunky bit of fat, okay? If you have big chunky bits of fat, and you see how much I was just able to pull off with my fingers, take a moment to get that out of there. Once again, if you just layer rub on top of that, it's gonna melt, and it's literally gonna run right off with this fat, because this is soft, pliable fat, and it's gonna liquefy, okay? So, pretty simple, prep's done, membrane's done, trimmed up ribs, everybody. Ready to go for seasoning. So in our original recipe, we talked about different binders you can use for adhering the rub to the ribs. Now, I could take this rack of ribs and I could run it under water, and that would adhere the rub. I could take it and I could slather up mustard. I could do a whole bunch of things. If you've got a love for sodas, you could put a soda on there. Today, I'm actually going to use my default go-to, which is a juice, a regular apple juice. At my house, we always have apple juice available. It's easy. It also does a couple of things. See, apple juice introduces a little bit of a surface sugar, which is always good for developing bark. It also adds a little bit of liquid to the surface of the meat, which actually encourages a better smoke flavor. You see, smoke is water soluble, and because smoke is water soluble, introducing a little bit of my friend apple juice is a good thing. So, give them a spritz, everybody. So their surface is nice and damp now, okay? And I'm going to one of my favorites. Now, this is a terrific recipe and method if you've never, done a rack of ribs before. But remember, right now you're in my house, and this is one of my favorites. This is Traeger's Pork and Poultry. And I'm gonna say that there may have been some awards won with this in the past in my lifetime as a competitive barbecuer, this and a couple of other things. I love this rub for a couple reasons. I'm gonna show you guys. So you might wanna come in close, because not only do I love this rub for its flavor, I actually love this rub for its texture. It's not just about the flavor. You see, these are really fine grinds. And the finer the grind, the better the absorption into the meat. If you've got big chunky things, big chunks of pepper and big chunks of celery, salt, or big chunks of garlic or onion, it actually sits on the surface of the meat. Whereas I find with the Traeger Pork and Poultry, it absorbs into the meat much better because it's nice and fine. So you're getting all that delicious flavor, that little bit of sweetness, that little bit of savory. Now the other thing you'll notice, I'm not down here seasoning. We're not down here seasoning, people, okay? If you season down here, you're going to get big chunky bits. If you come up here, you're gonna get a much more even coating and better meat coverage. So, nice and even all the way across. Come back in with the apple juice. Little pat, little zhush, and we flip. Little pat, and we zhush, and we go a little flip, okay? So now we have our ribs meat side up. And by the way, I always season in this order. We always do what's called the presentation side last, the big, thick, meaty side. A little bit of a zhush again. With the apple juice, we're spritzing it up, making that surface nice and damp, and then we're coming in with a heavier coat this time, because this is where we're getting all that delicious big bite goodness. Look at that rib coverage, everybody. All right, so we've got a generous amount of seasoning, but here's the thing. We eat all sides, so make sure you tap it off and season all the sides. So your bone ends, everybody, make sure you actually take a moment to season them. Any additional excess will come off at that point. Now, once again, season, flip it over, season the edge. Now, give them another zhush. A little more spritzing, people. And this is so much easier than doing just about anything. And hey, if you don't like apple juice, you can always use peach nectar, you can use mango, you can use pineapple juice. There's lots of juice options, and that little bit of surface sugar really helps create more bark. Okay, so right now our ribs are completely seasoned and we're going right to the grill. Now, we normally would just take them over to the grill, place them on the grill, and that's it. When you get to the grill, I'm gonna give you all a very big tip. Give them a squish. Let's show this again, shall we? Do you see how thick these ribs get? Okay, nice and long. When you go to the grill, give them a squish. You'll end up with much thicker ribs, okay? So we're gonna go to the grill. The grill is set at 225 degrees, and we are going to smoke these ribs. Now, the original recipe, 3 hours on the grill, 2 hours in the foil, 1 hour out of the foil. The key point now is to learn from temperatures over time always. So we're going to put these ribs on the grill, 225 degrees, until the internal temperature gets to about 170 degrees. At that point, they've taken in all the smoke, given us all the color. And one of the key things for me, it's spritzing the ribs while they're on the grill. All right, so I've got my grill open. I've got 3 stages of ribs there. We're gonna take our ribs, we're gonna go over there, we're gonna put them on the grill, we're gonna give them that squish. Look at how much thicker they get because of that, okay? DQ squish for the win. Look at that. Once again, we started there. You give them a squish. Look at how much thicker those ribs are. Automatically, just like that. I'm gonna take that glove off so I don't cross-contaminate my container. And while I have the grill open, I'm gonna come over with my apple juice. Now, this is room temperature apple juice, so don't be grabbing this right from the fridge. Grab your apple juice, give your ribs a spritz. Now look at that gorgeous color. There is nothing else on there except for Traeger pork and poultry rub. That's it. Give them a spritz, get them closed up, and now we're gonna get ready and set on how to wrap ribs. So, this is the point where we're gonna infuse our ribs with a lot of flavor. Now, our ribs are just coming up to about 170 degrees Fahrenheit, and now I'm gonna add in some goodness. I've got 2 pieces of foil here. We're gonna do this twice, and these are just some of the things that I like in my ribs. Now, at your house, you can do you. Right now, you're in my house, so we're gonna do me. A little bit of brown sugar. Now, here's the thing, it's all about balance for me. So I've got brown sugar. We're gonna do this twice. Once on that sheet, once on this sheet. Once you have your brown sugar on there, I'm gonna introduce a fat because I want these ribs to be luxurious, okay, and have a silky texture. So I've got 2 pats of butter. Now these are really big, so I'm gonna add 2 pats of butter on the bottom, just like that. Whoever in the Traeger kitchen thinks that this is a tablespoon, I'm just saying, God bless you and your generosity of measurements, but it's usually just 2 tablespoons, okay? All right, next thing, and here comes the sexy, sizzling, incredibly wonderful drizzle of honey, because honey adds a luxurious stickiness to barbecue that cannot be replaced with anything, okay? A little bit of honey works wonders. So a generous squiggle of honey. Look at that drizzly goodness. All right, once we have that squiggle, I'm gonna add in some balance. While I might be a temperature wuss and I don't like a lot of hot sauce, I like to magically balance this interior wrap with a little bit of hot sauce. This is Traeger's original hot sauce. I'm a big fan of this one. So I'm gonna guess maybe 2-3 tablespoons. Technical term, maybe 2-3 tablespoons. Look at that. Now, time to go to the grill to grab our ribs. Now, when I'm at the grill, here is what you want to use to temp your ribs. Ribs are much thinner. Normally I'd use a meter probe. This is a digital handheld. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna measure the ribs between the thickest 2 bones, basically, not touching the bone. So, come to your grill, just like this. I'm gonna go in between 2 bones and I'm looking for 170 degrees. Once it gets up to approximately 170 degrees, then it's time to wrap. You can also tell that, look at that gorgeous mahogany bark that's developed on the outside. A clear indication that we've done our job and it's smoked to perfection. So once we have temped our ribs, we know that they've come up to right temperature. We've got all that beautiful mahogany bark on the outside. Lift that lid, grab yourself a tray, get a pair of tongs, pull your ribs off, okay? Close the grill, and look at that color, everybody. Now, I want to show you the back side of these. Take a look at that, everybody. That is some barbecue sexiness happening right there. And by the way, it's consistent on both of them. While we had the ribs on the rack, on the grill, we had them bone side down. When they go to the wrap, we want to make sure we put them there meat side down, because of course that's where we're going to be eating. So we want the majority of that flavor to go just like this, okay? If you want to take that and you want to just kind of nestle them on there, and that butter is going to melt really fast, so don't stress. Once again, our beautiful rack of ribs going on top of all that deliciousness, and it's going to nestle in right there, okay? Now, once we've done that, it's time to repeat the process on the other side. So, fresh glove, a little more brown sugar, a little more brown sugar. I'm going to break this up because it's so thick. This one. 2 tablespoons of butter, okay? A little touch of honey, again, sexy barbecue drizzle about to happen, everybody. Look at that. Technical term, squiggle. Squiggle 1. We got a squiggle 2. And then we're gonna add in a little bit of hot sauce. Give it a shake right before you do. I like to put my finger over the end so it doesn't give it too much. Now, that is almost all the ingredients. The last ingredient actually that I add is apple juice, but I'm gonna show you an easy way to get that added into the package. We're gonna wrap. So, when you wrap your ribs, bring the sides up. Just like that. Nice and even. Nice and neat and tidy. You wanna fold over nice and neat like that. Now at this point, I have seen you all online. Stop tagging me in these videos, okay? I've seen you scrunch people. Stop scrunching. If you scrunch the end of that foil just to close it up, you can't open the package back up to check the temperature. And remember, this is a revision on 3-2-1 ribs. While we want you to absolutely have an idea approximately on the time, the best indication of when these ribs are done is always going to be by temperature. So if you fold it nice and neat, just like that, you know what you can do? Unfold it and open it. See that? Look, 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 nothing's breaking, people. Nothing is breaking. If you squish them though, and you scrunch them, you can't. Now at this end, I want you to do yourself a little favor and make yourself a little funnel. Yeah, we're working easier and smarter versus harder. Make yourself a funnel. Go to the other side, do your other rack of ribs. Once again, center up your ribs a little bit. Bring the 2 sides up. Nice and neat and tidy, just like that. Fold over the edges, just like that. Nice and neat and tidy. Fold and fold and fold. Flip it around, make a funnel. So now you're not trying to balance apple juice on a cutting board or on your kitchen counter and it's going everywhere. You've actually got a funnel, and we're gonna add in, I'm gonna say about a 1/4 cup of apple juice. This is regular, store-bought, room temperature apple juice, the same stuff we've been spritzing with. You can, of course, you wanna go all bougie, add bourbon. You can add beer, you can add sodas. Personally, I like apple juice. This method really does work. So you're gonna grab this, and you're gonna pour in about a 1/4 cup. Okay? And the reason it's approximately a 1/4 cup is basically you want the ribs to be sitting in apple juice. You don't want them floating, okay? So give that a lovely fold, nice and gentle, and we're gonna do this again. Grab the bottom of your funnel, just give it some support. There we go. A little bit of apple juice, fold over. Now, notice these are sitting on my kitchen counter right now, well, the Traeger kitchen counter, okay? And nothing's coming out of them. That is a very good sign, okay? That's why you want to buy that heavy duty foil. We don't want any drips. And this is where we want to return them to the grill. Now, up and until this point, we've been cooking at 225 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, here's the thing, you can keep it at 225, but I personally, typically, will always turn the grill up to 275 at this point. The ribs are protected, they're covered in foil. You know, the Traegers are all indirect. They've gotten as much of that delicious wood-fired flavor from the grill as they possibly can, and now it's just about expediting the cooking process. So, take your lovely ribs, open up your grill, and return them to the grill, okay? Lift them up carefully, place them on the grill, close it up. Now, I'm gonna say in approximately an hour to an hour and a half, I will open that package up carefully. I will grab my digital thermometer, and I'm going to check what the temperature is. If I want to sauce my ribs, I'm looking for 192 to 194 degrees. If I don't want to sauce my ribs, I'm looking for 202 to 204. It's completely up to you. Okay, so it is time to get the ribs off and to build the barbecue boat. So if you're wondering why I'm putting on white fluffy gloves, it's because my hands are too small for big barbecue mittens, okay? So for years I've been doing this. Some of my earliest videos you can see me doing this, and this is to give me just enough protection so that when I'm grabbing meat off the grill, it doesn't burn me. It's not appropriate for hot grill work, but it's great to grab meat off. So, cotton glove, Black nitrile, my favorite color, makes me happy. And we go to the grill. Now, these 2 racks of ribs are the ones we're going to take off very carefully. Okay, just like that. And just like that. And we're going to close this up. Now, both of these racks are between 192 and 194 degrees. So we are going to build the boat. First one, open it up very carefully. All right, so got my rack of ribs in here. I'm going to take my ribs and I'm going to flip them over. You can see they've been smoked, they've been cooked. We're going to fold the sides over. And we are literally going to build a boat for these ribs. This is going to keep them nicely kind of contained within their own juices, because remember, we had all that great flavor in there. And we're going to save ourselves a little bit of grill cleanup. So we now have a barbecue boat. Okay? And we're going to do this again. Just like this. So we're going to open that up very carefully. Once again, this is very hot. I'm going to flip those ribs over very carefully, and we're going to build the barbecue boat. Now, of course, the guys, they helped me out. They staged this all for me. So it's nice to have them, in sequential order, because this takes a bit of time. This would be approximately 4.5 to 5 hours in. But remember, we've used a digital thermometer to check the internal temperature between 2 bones to be between 192 to 194 degrees. Now, look at that. You got 2 racks of ribs and 2 boats. Now, here comes the easy part. Saucing ribs. So I selected Traeger Sweet and Heat today because this is one of my favorites. So what you want to do is you want to come in and you want to glaze your ribs. Just like that. Do it again. Okay. Once you have that, grab your brush, just spread it out nice and neat. You want to do all the edges, so make sure you get in there. And remember, that liquid that's at the bottom is all that delicious wood-fired goodness of that package. All right. So in my world, it's all about giving yourself 10 degrees to set the sauce. So the ribs are done at 202 to 204 degrees. We pulled these at 192 to 194 in order to give us 10 degrees worth of time to set the sauce properly. So now that our sauce is on there, it's time to return them to the grill. You could eat them right away. They're gonna be a little bit chewier than I want. And I like the fact that if you give them the 10 degrees, you can actually get the sauce a little tackier and set on the meat. So we're gonna go back to the grill now. So, stuff the grill open. We've got our rack of ribs, and we're gonna carefully put it up on this top rack. Okay? And we're going to give it 10 degrees worth of time to set the sauce, which is about 15 to 20 minutes. There we go, almost done. All right, everybody, it has been enough time. Our ribs have come up to temp. We're sitting right around 201 to 204 degrees. And as I bring them out, they're going to hit 202, so I'm not worried. I've got some gloves, got some hot gloves underneath. We're going to go get them from the grill very carefully, because they're in the boats, ready to go. Okay. Take a look at my beauties. This makes me so happy, it's stupid. Ridiculous. Look at that color, everybody. It's mahogany barbecue sexiness. Look at that. Look at that gorgeousness. And they smell fantastic. All right. they're hot, let me tell you. They're sticky. The sauce is set on them. Look at that. Notice they're not falling apart either. Do you notice that, people? Do you notice nothing is falling apart? The rib is cooked properly, but it is not falling off the bone. We're gonna take this, gonna shove it right over the side, just a little bit like that. Gonna put that rack down. And we're gonna take this one out. And one of the great things about this is that this is how you get consistent, repeatable ribs every single time. Not just once, not just occasionally. If you measure things not just by 3, 2, 1, if you measure them by temperature, so start with them cold from the fridge, spritz them, season them, get them to the grill, spritz again every 30 to 45 minutes. And then when they reach about 170 degrees, wrap them with all the things that you love. Once you've wrapped them, measure them until they get to 192 degrees. Once they get to 192 degrees, build your boat, glaze them, put them back on, and when they get to that magical 202 to 204, this is what you get. Beautiful, consistent, gorgeous ribs. And you know I gotta try them, okay? So, here's the thing. It's much easier if you stand them up on end and cut them just like that, because you know what? You can see where the bones are. What a great concept. Now look at that. It's succulent, it's moist, it's delicious. You got a beautiful smoke ring there. You got gorgeous bark. I mean, what more would you want from a rack of ribs? You've got gorgeous, beautiful ribs. Oh yeah, what more do you want? Take a look at this. Remember that barbecue boat, everybody? Oh yeah, oh yeah. You then also have a light glaze on the inside as well. So this is how I love to make ribs for my family, for my friends. It's consistent, it's repeatable, and you've got glazed goodness. So 3, 2, 1, revisited to the new 2.0 version. We got gorgeous ribs, beautiful glaze, nice set sauce, perfect temperature, beautiful smoke ring. You know, this is how you should do your ribs every single time, this method. And remember, if you like them spicier, you pull out your spicier rubs. If you like them sweeter, add a little more honey or anything else. But this is literally how I love my ribs. Pretty sure it's time to eat, I'm just saying, okay? Do I have a little sauce on my mouth? Probably. Do I care? No. Beautiful, gorgeous bit ribs. You know, I have people here that I can feed too, which is kind of nice. I'm sorry, sir. Sir, do you want some ribs? You want some ribs, sir? The team's been here all day and their mouths are watering. You gotta feed them, okay? This is 3, 2, 1 ribs revisited and consistently made better. Remember, for this recipe and so many more, like, subscribe, go to Traeger.com, follow us on everything, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, I know all the things, just go follow all the things, because you know what? We know barbecue.